I forget that, like, where a song just hits you way different after you enhance the mood a bit. We're going deep on this one today. Does weed actually make music better? We're checking out this super interesting article from Vice EE, and it's called Get This. Does weed really make music sound better? Science has answers.
Yeah.
They actually did a whole research study on it. Wild, right. So stick with us because by the end of this deep dive, you'll know if it's like a real thing or just all in our heads. All right, so these researchers, they get 104 people. Can you imagine signing up for that study?
Right.
And they use all these surveys and interviews, really trying to get inside our brains and see what happens when we mix music. And, well,
What's really cool is they didn't just stop at, yeah, it sounds better.
Eh?
They wanted to know how cannabis actually changes how we experience music. They broke it down into 4 main areas.
Okay, I'm hooked. Lay it on me. What are these 4 areas?
So first up, they found that cannabis, it kind of messes with like how your brain processes information in general, which means you might hear the music in a totally new way, like suddenly understanding the lyrics on a deeper level.
Oh, yeah.
Or noticing how all the instruments kind of like play off each other.
So it's not that the music itself is changing. It's more like how our brains are receiving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the second thing, your actual hearing, how you perceive the sound.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the study found people actually heard the music differently when they were high.
No way. Seriously.
Half of them said they could hear the music better, like they picked up on things they totally missed before.
Whoa, hold on. It's like those hidden picture things, but with sound.
Right.
You're suddenly like, wait, was that hidden choir always there?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how cannabis can heighten your senses.
Yeah.
They found people were way more tuned into the rhythm, the lyrics, the whole structure of the song. Almost like their brains were making connections they couldn't before, and suddenly they see these hidden patterns in the music.
Okay, so we're hearing things differently. Our brains are making new connections. But does that mean we're actually getting the music more or just like noticing more details?
That's where the third area comes in, emotional stuff.
Okay.
How open you are emotionally, how sensitive you are. The study found that cannabis often led to people feeling a much stronger connection to the music. Some people even talked about having like really clear memories, or feeling super nostalgic about a certain song.
Oh, totally. It's like the music unlocks these memories and feelings you didn't even know were there. I've definitely had those moments where a song hits me in a completely different way, bringing back a memory or something.
So you're saying cannabis might like amplify that?
Yeah, it can make it more intense. And that leads to the fourth and final thing. They called it embodiment and immersion.
Embodiment and immersion sounds intense.
Basically, it's about how much you're feeling the music, like in your body and soul.
So like how deeply we get pulled into the whole experience. Exactly. And they found cannabis can make the listening experience super immersive. One person even said, and I quote, "When I'm not high, I just don't pay enough attention to the music. It's like background noise. When I am high, it's the only thing I am focused on."
Wow, that's next level. I get that, though, getting totally lost in a song. So you're saying cannabis could make that focus and intensity even stronger?
It can be pretty amazing, but like anything, you can have too much, you know. The study also found that some people felt kind of overwhelmed by it, like it was just too much sensory input.
Too much of a good thing, right? It's all about balance. So is there a chance that for some people, listening to music while high might actually make it sound worse?
It's definitely possible. Everyone's brain is different, right? What might be awesome for one person could be overwhelming for someone else.
So maybe it's not as easy as saying weed equals better music for everyone.
You got it. How we each respond to cannabis is different, which makes sense, right? It affects us all in different ways.
Yeah, it's like what works for one person might not work for another, right?
Totally. It's like that old saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Right.
But with music and cannabis, you know what I mean?
For sure. And this whole thing, it got me thinking. We're talking about weed, but there are so many things that can, like, change how we experience music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The setting, your mood, who you're with,
Yeah.
it all makes a difference.
Totally. Like a song can hit me in a totally different way depending on where I am when I hear it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about listening on your headphones, walking down the street,
Yeah.
versus hearing that same song live in concert.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different vibe, bruh.
Night and day. And don't even get me started on musical memories. Like I read somewhere that what we listen to as teenagers, it really shapes our taste in music.
Oh, for sure.
Something about those years being super important for our brains and how we process emotion.
Adolescence, man.
Yeah.
That's when we form those strong attachments to certain bands, certain genres,
Yeah.
even specific songs. And those songs, they get all mixed up with our memories from back then.
It's like our brains build this musical roadmap of our youth.
Right.
And those musical memories, man, they're powerful even years later. Like, I can still remember the first time I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit. I remember exactly where I was.
Wow.
It takes me right back to my friend's basement like it was yesterday.
Music is like a time machine.
It really is.
It can transport us back to those moments, make us feel those emotions all over again. Powerful stuff.
No kidding. But it makes you wonder, like, do those memories, do they change how we hear the music itself? Like, if I have a good memory attached to a song, am I always going to hear it as happy, even if the lyrics are, like, super depressing?
That's a great question. It shows how subjective music is for everyone. Our experiences, memories, even our biases, it all gets filtered into how we connect with a song.
And it's not just our own past, right? Like,
Who?
what about the music we grew up with? Or if you play an instrument or, stuff like that.
Totally. Think about it. Someone who grew up listening to like traditional Japanese music their whole life, they're going to hear Mozart totally differently than like someone who grew up with Mozart.
Yeah, definitely.
They're coming from two totally different places.
It's like we each have our own musical language based on where we're from and what we've heard before.
Right. And all those different perspectives, that's what makes music so cool. There's no right or wrong way to listen to a song. It's all you.
Totally. It's got to be whatever moves you.
Exactly. And that brings us back to where we started with the whole weed and music thing. The research is interesting and all, but the best way to listen is whatever sounds best to you.
Love it. Whatever works.
And be open to that changing, too. What you like today, you might not like tomorrow, and that's fine.
That's true. Tastes change, you hear new things. It's a journey.
That's a great way to put it. Music is a journey. And it's a better journey when you're open to new experiences and perspectives.
It's wild that we started with weed and music, and now we're talking about, like, the whole meaning of music,
That's the beauty of a good deep dive. You never know where you'll end up.
For sure. Well, we went down the rabbit hole today. So, final answer. Does weed make music better?
The research says it could, for some people, yeah, it can make it more like intense, more emotional,
Right.
but it's not for everyone. And like we talk about, there's a lot more to it than just that.
Your experience might be different.
Exactly. There's no one right answer.
So find what works for you. Be open to new experiences. Listen to old favorites with fresh ears. You never know.
You might find a whole new meaning in a song you thought you knew by heart.
Something to think about.